Okay, we'll go ahead and get started since it's 9:05 right now. And I would like to welcome you to the Effective I-9 onboarding steps for a successful on-campus working experience. My name is Andrea Siors, and I am the I-9 onboarding coordinator with the University of Cincinnati over at UC International Services. And I work between UC Human Resources and UC International. It looks like we've got some more people coming in, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and continue. Welcome to the University of Cincinnati. I'm assuming a lot of you are new, starting this semester. If not, if you're a current student, welcome as well. We are going to discuss today the process of your I-9 onboarding. Please hold any questions you might have at the end of the presentation, as I will be happy to answer any and all questions that I did not address during this PowerPoint presentation. All right, so on-campus employment. As an F1 student or a J1 student, you're permitted to work on campus and apply for a student position at UC. You can work for up to 20 hours a week while school is in session, and more than 20 hours a week when school is not in session. That would be, for example, winter break, summer break, spring break week. And remember that 20 hours a week is not an average, but a week by week total. So you must not go over 20 hours a week. So for example, if you're working 10 hours one week and you decide you want to do 30 hours the next week, that is not permitted. So it's either 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week. We have a wonderful, wonderful PowerPoint presentation and video, in addition to what I'm presenting today, that we also recommend students to go and read, because it explains about all the rules and regulations and requirements for on-campus employment. And as well as watching the 2 sources for international student employment videos. These are very, very helpful. And if you know somebody who was not able to attend today's presentation, please refer them to this. And also you can get this video presentation, as I said previously, through the UC International YouTube link. All right. So a lot of students have questions as to where to find jobs on campus. There is one place where all UC International and even domestic students at UC can go and apply for an on-campus job. First, you will need to go to a place called, well, obviously you go to the UC Jobs website, and the link is right there on the screen. Second, you will need to scroll to the student section and click on student positions. Then you will be directed to a website called Handshake, which is where UC student job postings are now listed. I have provided the link here as well. When you go to Handshake, it's going to ask you to log in. If you already have an account with Handshake, login is normal. However, a lot of new students do not have an account, so that's no problem. All you need to do is click on the top of the page where it says sign up here and follow the steps and instructions on how to create your profile account to search for student positions at UC. Remember, you can only work on campus student positions. Any off-campus positions do not qualify. If you have questions regarding what's considered an on-campus position versus an off-campus position, please send an email to international students at uc.edu and we will clarify for you. All right. So you have applied for a job through Handshake. Your hiring department makes the decisions as to who to hire. UC International does not make the decisions. So when you apply for a position, let's say for the UC Library, you would have to go through the UC Library hiring process and manager. Now, keep in mind that not every student is going to get an on-campus job. Whatever is listed on the UC's website and Handshake for student employment is what's available. So if you apply for a job and you haven't heard in a while, please note that they may have already picked their candidates, and that's okay. You can go back into Handshake and apply for another student job. You can apply for as many student jobs as you like, and then one hopefully will come through for you. And keep in mind that also every semester, a lot of students are applying for jobs in the beginning. So some jobs and some students may be reposted or may quit that position. So it's always smart to keep an eye out on those student jobs on Handshake. So let's say College of Engineering, you applied, you got hired, and after 1 to 2 weeks, you received the welcome to UC email. That's wonderful. That means you have been selected and hired. You would want to accept the position with your hiring department, human resources, and then you're going to go through our office to complete your job acceptance process. Once you have completed and confirmed that you have this position, you will receive the welcome to UC email. And this email will have instructions from human resources as to how to apply as a domestic student as well as an international student. Please keep in mind that you are all international student if you're going through UC International. So it is very important that you follow the instructions that's under international students and proceed with that process. So when you get the welcome to UC email from human resources, there will be an international employee I-9 onboarding handbook. This is extremely important as it requires you to act. You must click on that handbook, open it up, read it, and follow the instructions and the links attached to it. The handbook is a wonderful resource that I have created to help you answer the questions for your electronic I-9 forms through SuccessFactor, which is the program that you're going to have to go through and complete your I-9 onboarding paperwork. So a sample of the welcome to UC email looks something like this. Okay. And in addition, don't forget that there's going to be that wonderful handbook attachment where it says all international hires must complete the I-9 onboarding steps as provided in the International Employee I-9 Onboarding Handbook that will be attached to the Welcome to UC email. So right here, I will show you at the bottom, it says number 6, 1 through 6, where it says based on your position type and location. International hires must complete the I-9 onboarding steps as provided in the International Employee I-9 Handbook. I stress this very, very clearly because a lot of students tend to forget the attachments that come with this email. And when they complete their paperwork, there's always mistakes and they have to be fixed. It happens. That's okay. We can fix them. It's not the end of the world. However, it does delay the process of your onboarding. One moment, I've got some more folks coming in. Let me admit them into the seminar. All right. So again, this is a sample of the Welcome to UC email and what's going to be attached from human resources. Remember that after you're hired, the Welcome to UC email comes from human resources directly, not from our office. So keep that in mind. All right. So you got the Welcome to UC email. You've read the wonderful International Employee I-9 Handbook. And now you are ready to start the process of completing your I-9 electronic forms in SuccessFactor. So the Welcome to UC email will have a link to access your SuccessFactor new employee portal. Please make sure you log in, follow the instructions on how to log in, set up your password, and proceed with filling each screen. First and foremost, onboarding cannot be completed outside the US. As an international student or employee, you must be in the United States and have the I-94 entry document, your I-20, your passport, and your visa. Please keep in mind that these documents are mandatory to complete your electronic I-9 paperwork. And you must have a US address when you complete the I-9 paperwork. You cannot use an international foreign address. If by some chance you accidentally did that, it is not a big deal. We can go in and fix it for you after you complete your onboarding electronic I-9 forms. So an idea of what's going to be asked when you complete the electronic I-9 forms is the basic biographical information, which will have your name, your address, your phone number, which you will fill in yourself. Keep in mind that most international students, when they are filling out these forms, will not have a social security number, and that is okay. We are going to help you apply for one after you complete onboarding. Our office will provide you with a social security letter and instructions on how to apply for a social security number so that you have the option to apply and then submit a copy to us so we can process it through human resources and they can send it to payroll so you can be paid properly and, of course, get taxed properly in the United States. The first section, when you fill out your name, please make sure you put it in as it appears in your passport. It is extremely important that that's how you enter your name. And when you apply for the social security number, because the names have to match in order to go through UC's E-Verify USCIS process. For example, a lot of students sometimes may not have a last name or even a first name, and that's okay. We have an approved method of how to submit your information. Your first name should always say unknown, and the last name section should be your first or given name. Please do not leave it blank, or please do not put FNU, which is first name unknown, because that is not recognizable through the Social Security Administration office. They want unknown as listed under your first name, and then your full name, first given name, is listed under the last name section. Another thing to keep in mind is your address. In the United States, we have a specific way of typing in our address. Please keep in mind that your name goes on the first line, and then your address and apartment number goes on the second line for your street name, and then the city, state, and zip code. I know in some countries, I believe, for example, in India, they like to put apartment buildings first, and then, or apartment numbers first, and then the actual street name. But in the US, we do it the opposite, just like we do our dates. So keep that in mind when you're completing your Catalyst student record. You've got to make sure your addresses are updated correctly in Catalyst, and it'll fit into iBearcats Global, which will also match your student records. Just one thing to keep in mind, if your address was not typed correctly in Catalyst, it's very easy to go back, log into your Catalyst record, and fix your address. It's not a big deal. Now, the electronic I-9 form will have some additional questions, and we have provided you the answers for those, as it is also listed on the International Employee I-9 Handbook. Most students commonly get confused as to which options to choose when it comes to the answer, I'm an employee that is either a US citizen, a non-US citizen with national of the United States, or a lawful permanent resident, or an alien allowed to work. Unless you are a US citizen or a permanent resident, the one and only option you really need to select is the alien allowed to work until the program end date. That is the end date of your I-20 or your DS 2019. What visa type are you? Hopefully, most of you know your visa immigration status, either you're an F1 or you're a J1. And then it's going to ask you to choose from list A. Always choose from the option list A because you're going to select your foreign passport with the I-94 and I-20. And then it's going to ask you if you needed a translator to help you with this I-9 paperwork. Please select no. The next option is your W-4 tax forms. Keep in mind that no one is exempt from U.S. taxes when you work. However, a lot of students, when they apply for their tax refund every year, they fill out the paperwork, and most of the tax that was withheld during your income, the year you worked, you will get it back. Maybe not 100%, but you'll get the majority of it. So when you answer the W-4 form, these are the answers you need to provide. On the W-4 form, make sure you provide and indicate that you're a non-resident alien. Just a little bit on the non-resident alien category, that means that you're in the U.S. for less than 5 years. If you're here more than 5 years in the United States as an F1, then you would obviously select your resident alien. But the majority of students who go through this process are non-resident aliens because they have just arrived or they transferred from another school and they've only been in the U.S. for less than 5 years. You're going to select single, married filing separately. In step 1, you're going to leave questions 2 through 4 as 0, or you can leave them blank and the system will default it. And then it's going to ask you, are you exempt from taxes? And the answer is no. As I explained just a bit ago, no one is exempt. However, when you file your taxes, you'll be able to get most of your refund. And information about how to file your taxes in the U.S., our office and the UC tax office will send out emails regarding how to file taxes, what system to use as an international student or employee. And this information will guide you on filling out your tax forms so that you're taxed properly and that when you file your taxes, you get the allocated refund that you're due. So it's extremely important that when you onboard with our office and you receive the final confirmation, that you read all the information that we sent to you, because it talks about the W-4 again, who to contact at the UC tax office, and how to complete your tax paperwork with a system called SprintTax. Next, you will review the following policy and regulation forms. Please make sure that you read them very carefully, as it is your responsibility as an international employee to know and understand what each of these forms mean and used for. So you're going to go through the SSA 1945, the OPERS, the Ohio Ethics Law, and related status acknowledgement, and acknowledgement of receipt of Auditor of State Fraud Reporting System information. Read them, initial them all where it asks to initial, and continue on forward. Don't forget that when you complete your electronic I-9 forms, you're going to get a screen where it has the signature acknowledgement page. You have to click on the signature acknowledgement page and select both buttons that pop up, and then you have to enter your password and hit submit. Once you do that, you'll get the final screen page of your documents, which you can print if you like, so you can have them for your files. And then you're going to hit one more time, hit submit, and then it's going to tell you, thank you for completing your new employee portal. You're all done. Once you get that, thank you for completing your new employee portal page, you're all finished with that. Then you'll want to follow the next steps on your I-9 onboarding employee handbook that you were given. Congratulations on finishing your I-9 electronic forms in SuccessFactor. Now the next steps. The next step is that you would go log into your iBearcats Global. As you all know, this is your international student record with the University of Cincinnati, in addition to your Catalyst and student academic records and all that good stuff. So as a UC student employee, you're going to complete either the employee onboarding request, receiving a UC paycheck e-form, or the on-campus employment request, non-UC e-form. And I will explain what each one of those means and give you some examples. So an employee onboarding request receiving a UC paycheck, you have to go through our office to get final employment authorization approval and complete your in-person document check. This is a form that you must complete if you're working for any UC department, meaning your paycheck is going to come from the University of Cincinnati. Most of the time, these student positions will be student worker, graduate assistant, a TA, an RA. So, and also it's a student who's going to might be working for student affairs, the Learning Assistance Center, the library, UCIT, Arts and Fields Parking Services, the UC Athletic Department. Let's see what other places I can think of. Your engineering college, College of Business, any of those UC departments, you would have to submit this specific A-form. And on that A-form, it asks you to upload all your immigration documents as one PDF file. So you have to upload them all in one file, not individually. The system won't let you. So that would mean you would need to upload your I-20. It does not have to be signed, and it does not have to be active. It could be the initial I-20. That's okay. Your I-94 document, the first page that indicates your date of arrival, that you're an F1, and the I-94 number at the top, and your visa. So you just save those as one PDF, and then you would upload it. The other UC employee e-form is for non-UC employee departments. So the on-campus employment request for non-UC employee, meaning that paycheck is not coming from the University of Cincinnati, you would fill this out if, let's say, you're working for the UC bookstore, which is called Artlet, I believe now. So they're not a UC paycheck employer. They issue their own paychecks. That would also include CC Holdings, Mark Pie Express over on East Campus, or even Subway, Airmark, UC Foundation, and places like that. Please keep in mind that you can only apply for UC student positions, meaning a position has to service other UC students. So if a department at UC is hiring for a HR manager for part-time work, you're not eligible to do that because that's not servicing other UC international students. It's servicing staff. And that is actually a full-time position. Most of these positions are not part-time. So always remember, it has to be a part-time position, meaning 20 hours or less. So you have found a job, you completed your electronic I-9 paperwork, and now you submitted your iBearcats Global Correct e-form. So now you're going to wait anywhere from 3 to 5 business days, maybe even sooner, depending on the time of the year and how busy the office is. You receive an email confirmation that your I-9 onboarding request has been received, and to complete one final step before we authorize you for employment. So when you complete the e-form, I'm going to send you an email that says you need to come in to do the in-person document verification. When you come in and complete the in-person document verification, I will then go back, look into your e-form, process your e-form and send you final confirmation and instructions on indicating that you're authorized to work, how to apply for the Social Security number, how to set up your direct deposit information on how to set up and process your US taxes, how to opt out of a PERS, and much more. I know this is a lot of information. And as a even an existing student, you get a lot of information that comes in from your departments and from our office. However, it is extremely, extremely, extremely important that you read everything, because as I mentioned earlier, if you choose to work for UC or any other non-UC department, it is extremely important that you understand and follow all the rules and regulations of employment. If you don't, it's a violation of your immigration status. It could prevent you from working in the future. This could affect your being penalized for taxes. This could affect you getting a green card. This could affect you getting applying for OPT or anything like that. So it is very, very important that everything you receive from our office, since we are your number one stop for international, it is very important that you follow all these steps and you go through this process. And if you ever have any questions regarding your immigration status and or anything regarding your employment, please make sure you let us know. One moment, please. All right, next step. The one thing that you have to keep in mind is the OPERS. This is the Ohio Retirement Program. International students are not eligible really for this option. And you don't want to be, because you don't know if you're going to be working for the University of Cincinnati in the future. So it's money that they're going to withhold from you that is really not necessary. And I know as international students, every dime matters. So it is extremely important that you very carefully read the information we sent you after you complete onboarding. Most importantly, your hiring date must not be older than 30 days from the date OPERS contacts you to opt out. Be certain that your hiring date for your student worker position is accurate. We always recommend that it should match the start date of your I-20 of the semester or afterwards. If it does not, this can cause issues. Having an inaccurate start date is problematic and may result in you missing the opportunity to opt out of OPERS, and you will get charged every paycheck. It typically can be anywhere from $50 to $70 per paycheck. And I get it. That's a lot of money to come out of a paycheck when a student is trying to save money, right? So when you complete onboarding and you realize that your employment start date is not at least the start date of your I-9 or afterwards, it is always, if it's more than a couple days, if it's more than the 3-day onboarding rule, I always recommend contacting your hiring department and get that changed. They are the ones that can request a change and contact human resources to have your I-9 employment start date corrected. You need to understand that OPERS is an online process only. OPERS will not budge if you get charged on your paycheck. They're a government affiliated agency And it does not matter if we ask them to please correct it, they will not do it. We've had a lot of issues in the previous semesters with students getting taxed and withdrawn au pairs, and there's nothing we can do. It is extremely important that employment start dates and you completing the waiver cannot be longer than 30 days. Here's a little more information about au pairs. And again, I stress this, departments are aware of this. So when they do hire you, and you, let's say you're being hired from a department and they say, oh, we want you to start, for example, December 15th, right? Or December 13th or December 30th. You got to keep in mind the University of Cincinnati closes during winter break. So if your hiring date is between winter break or January 1st, your process is not going to be handled until after the university opens up. So if you notice a start date as such, you need to let your department know that this needs to be changed. And they need to put your I-20 start date as your employee start date. This is extremely important because if you do not, au pairs counts every day except Christmas and a New Year's Day as employment dates. So if you are hired and you're supposed to start December 23rd or December 25th, Christmas Day, you're going to lose from December 26th to the 31st. This is basically a week that you just lost of an option to opt out of au pairs. So it is very important, very, very important that you make sure your employment start date really should be reflecting your I-9 and your I-20. And remember, you have to be in the US in order to complete onboarding. All right, so a little bit more about your au pairs. Again, this is a government database, government entity. So we have nothing to do with this process other than just guide you and advise you on when to opt out and how to do it. When you get hired and HR will send automatic notifications to au pairs under your UC or non-UC email. Keep in mind your emails must be very clear and must be typed correctly. In the past, we have had issues with students missing the dot or some part of their name on their email. And unfortunately, au pairs never received it. And some of those students were charged au pairs. Even though they claimed they followed all the steps. And when they went back to see how they submitted their email in HR, in their I-9 employee record, they missed a letter or a number on their email, which caused them to get charged. So very, 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 very important. Please make sure that your email, your name, and your phone number is always written correctly in Catalyst. When your hiring department hires you in the system, please make sure that they enter your name, your phone number, your email correctly. You have access to SuccessFactor. So if you notice anything that's not written correctly or properly, please make the change so that nothing gets missed at the end. You have, again, a 30-day deadline from your employment start date, and UC has not issued you a paycheck to opt out of au pairs. What this means is that the date you're supposed to start working is, let's say, January 9th, which most of you are. You have 30 days from January 9th to get that au pairs text or email notification to opt out. Make sure you opt out according to their instructions. And at this point, you shouldn't have had received a UC paycheck yet. So remember, Getting used to this a little bit. All right. So if you have passed the 30-day deadline or received a UC paycheck already, you're no longer eligible of opting out. Again, you cannot opt out. You cannot opt out unless it's within your 30-day deadline and there's no paycheck. If you do not have a job on campus or any job as an international student, none of this applies to you. This only applies to students who have been hired by a department, received a welcome to UC email, and completed onboarding. Au pairs is only for hired employees, UC, citizens, domestic students are automatically charged. International students should not be charged of au pairs because, as I said earlier, this is a Ohio retirement plan. And if you plan on working for UC or in an educational institution in Ohio, that's the only benefit of au pairs. But remember, au pairs is a retirement program and you cannot cancel it or close it until you reach retirement age. If you close it prior to retirement age, there's a 20% penalty fee. So this is why we encourage international students and workers and scholars who do not plan to make their career with UC or any Ohio educational institution opt out of this because it's not going to benefit you in the long run. Now, the one thing that au pairs requires when you opt out is a social security number. But how do you do that when you don't have a social security number, right? No problem. International students who do not have a social security number must use the last 4 digits of their UCID M number. Remember, if you don't have a social, you cannot put 99999 for au pairs. It has to be the last 4 digits of your UCID M number because they can recognize and locate your record through that. They will provide you the option and instructions on how to opt out of au pairs. You will receive an email to your UC email account and or text directly from au pairs. Again, I will stress, make sure your UC email account is accurate and active. With a link to electronically opt out. Au pairs, you have to opt out electronically. You cannot submit paper request forms. It's all done electronically. So what you will do is click on the link or the text and submit the exemption request. Then au pairs will notify UC Human Resources of an approval exemption request. They will notate your employment record and payroll, and you will also receive an exemption request directly from au pairs. Very, very important and key thing to remember after you opt out. Make sure that you get that confirmation that you have opted out directly from au pairs. If you do not get one within 3 to 7 business days after you opted out, please contact au pairs. You gotta make sure that you do that. All right. Congratulations. You have got a job, you've completed onboarding, you've opted out of pairs, your employment start date has started. Enjoy your new job. Remember that you will receive a final confirmation from me or from our office that says you are authorized to work on your employment start date. Make sure you read the attachments I send you about the DSO SSN job offer letter. apply for your SSN and get it within 30 days, because Human Resources and the Department of Labor requires that you submit a Social Security number within 30 days of your employment start date. Now, granted, sometimes it could take a little longer. It's okay. We can bypass it for a couple of weeks after that, but not more than 45 days, okay? So it is extremely important that as soon as you receive confirmation, you follow the steps on how to apply for the SSN, and you do it right away. As soon as you receive your Social Security card, you must bring your Social Security card to our office after you get it in the mail for verification and processing for Human Resources and payroll. You have to have a Social Security number in order to continue to work after 30 days. If you do not get the SSN card within the 30-day requirement, your job could be terminated. Okay, so keep in mind that this is not a law made by our office. It's a law from UC's Human Resources and the Department of Labor. Okay, so it is very important that you follow all these rules and requirements. Unfortunately, for those of you who are arriving now, the presentation is finished. This presentation will be posted on the YouTube UC International link. So you will need to go and review this presentation to learn about onboarding. My understanding was that this presentation was supposed to start at 9 a.m. So, and that's when we started. I will answer some basic questions regarding this presentation, but please keep in mind, I've completed the whole process, and if you do want to see the whole PowerPoint, as I have recorded it, please wait 24 hours, and then you can go into the UC International YouTube section, and you're more than welcome to watch it and review it. All right, so now I am open to all kinds of questions. And let me see here, since I am doing this presentation myself, I'm going to go through your questions here on the meeting chat and see what I can help you with. All right. I think I may have mentioned this. What if you have not gotten an on-campus employment yet? That's okay. You don't have to get an on-campus job to hear and learn about onboarding and how it works. I'm happy that you're here and that you're learning the process so that when you do get a job, you know what to do. And that's wonderful. All right, let's see. What are the employment opportunities for international students? Thank you for your email, Praveen, and your message. This was discussed earlier in the PowerPoint presentation. I will tell you real quick that the only place where you can look for student on-campus positions is through the UC Jobs website and going to Handshake. That's where all the positions are posted for students, and any position outside of these links or these websites will not be permitted. Will I need to redo the process if I change the working position with UC? Not at all. However, if we have not onboarded you yet, you will. And if your current employer has not removed you from the UC Flex SuccessFactors employee database. So for example, let's say you were working for CAS and you're supposed to start on the 9th, but you haven't completed onboarding yet. That's okay. They can switch your position in the UC Flex system and SuccessFactors, and you will need to go back and just redo the I-9 paperwork again, which is no problem because we haven't completed onboarding for you, so you're fine. If you have completed onboarding and we processed your e-form and we've provided you with Social Security information, you do not need to do this because you're already in the system. So as long as CEAS does not remove you from UC Flex and you're still active, you are good to go. So go ahead and just follow the same procedure of applying for the SSN if you haven't done so. And if you're not sure, please send me an email and I will check the system and see if you're still active. And then I'll let you know you're active, you completed onboarding, nothing else you need to do. Because when you onboard with our office and you complete your electronic I-9 forms through SuccessFactor, remember that wonderful question, you're an alien authorized to work until date? You're going to put your I-20. And as long as your I-20 is not expiring and you are active in UC Flex and you completed onboarding, you can work for any UC student position. Let's say you got a job at the Learning Center and you decided, you know what, I don't want to work there anymore. I want to work for my department because they are offering me better pay, or, the library only wants me to work 10 hours, but my department wants me to work 20 hours a week. You're more than welcome to change. And as long as you're active in the system, you should be good to go. Again, if you're never sure, you are always welcome to email, and I will double check your hiring records, because I'm able to see if a student has been canceled or still active in the system. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Steve, what if a transfer student who already has an SSN, do I have to do the same process? Yes, no matter if you have an SSN or not, you still have to go through onboarding, and you still have to opt out of a PERS. You're working at a different university, but even if you're working for UC, because your previous record may have been canceled in the employment system and you were rehired, you must go through the hiring process again. If you have an SSN, that's awesome. Then we skip that process for you and we just authorize you for employment, send you the PERS exemption instructions and how to fill out your W-2 paperwork, and help you with the spring tax and taxes, direct deposit, and all that good stuff. If you get a welcome to UC email, that means you are not active in the UC employee system until then, or your previous position at UC was terminated, and now you are rehired, and there was at least a 30-day gap from one employment to another. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're still okay, right? Even if you're within your 30-day grace period, if the previous department had canceled your employment at UC Flex, you're going to have to do that again. Okay? Yes, Raya. So you're asking about the employment start date. If the employment start date is more than, I would say, 3 to 5 business days of your employment, and you do not think you're going to be able to complete your I-9 paperwork within that 30-day deadline of your employment start date, I would recommend you change it. However, if you're sure you're going to get your I-9 onboarding, employment verification, and a PERS taken care of within those 30 days, I would not change it. Don't, because it's a lot more work and you're going to have to do the paperwork again. So if you're sure that you can get everything done within the 30 days from your employment start date, I would go ahead and just keep it. We're only stressing the changing the employment start date because we've had a lot of departments put for students who are supposed to start, let's say, spring semester, January 9th, because that's what their I-20 says. A lot of departments we've noticed were putting start dates as December 12th. Well, you can't do that because, first of all, UC is closed for about 7 to 8 days during winter break, and you may not even be in the US yet. So you cannot assume you're going to get everything done from December 12th to January 9th. You're going to be able to get all this stuff done. Because as an international student, you're arriving in the US, you have to find your place to stay, get your classes taken care of, complete your pre-arrival checklist and all that stuff. So we do not expect you to have everything done. So that's the only time that we would recommend making a change. I wouldn't do it any other way. If you arrived and your employment start date was January 1st or January 3rd, and you're here and you're starting the process, you do not need to change the date. you should be able to get it done by the end of January. Okay. It says, okay, let's see. Where can I get the recording of this session? As I mentioned earlier, the recording will be posted on the UC's International YouTube page, and that's where you can get the recording. Diane asks, so you're only to get the welcome to UC, but only if you were removed from UC Flex system or you're starting a new position. Yes, anytime a department hires you in the UC Flex system, you're going to get a welcome to UC email, because that tells us that you are rehired, your previous record was canceled, and you are starting a new position. And if that's the case, you're going to have to do the whole process of I-9 boarding, same way. So let's see. I was hired before last semester to UC, but I got a new job this semester and got the welcome to UC email. You're correct. This is because you were hired at UC previously and more than 30 days passed, or the previous department withdrew your previous position. So now you have to be rehired again. So you will have to go through the whole process of welcome to UC, completing the electronic I-9 paperwork, doing your in-person document check, and all that good stuff. Okay. So do we have any more questions? Anything else I can help with? If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that is also acceptable. I'll be happy to answer any more questions that you might have.
Good morning. I think I joined the presentation a bit late, so
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You have a soft, sweet voice.
Oh, I was saying I think I joined the presentation late, so I might have not heard some of the stuff you covered before. So I'm currently a new student at UC. However, I'm in the process of finding an on-campus job. I haven't been successful as yet, but when I joined the presentation, I know you were making mention of putting the start date to January 9th. Let's say I get a job January 19th. Would that still be, could January 19th be my start date for the
I'm sorry. Just to make sure I understand your question, your department has a January 19th start date for you?
No, it's just an example. As I said, I haven't gotten a job as yet, so I wouldn't be certain of the start date.
Okay, the certainty of your start date is if you, so for example, you said you currently have a 1/9 start date on your employment?
I don't have a job as yet, but
okay, you haven't been hired. So I would have to see, since they haven't hired you yet, that means they haven't posted your position and your employment start date in the system yet. Okay, so most likely they're going to put departments know, and they should put the accurate start date. So when you are contacted by your hiring department, ask them, what is your employment start date? Okay. If they say, let's say January 9th or January 16th, then you're fine, because it's still within, it's even before you're supposed to start. And even the day you start, it's okay, because as long as you complete everything within the 30 days of your employment start date, there's no reason to change the employment start date. Okay. Now, God forbid, let's say they hire you and they have put a January 9th date and you don't get notified until the 19th, that's 10 days basically that you're going to be missing. Right? So I would ask them to change that, because, and you need to let them know why. That only gives me 20 business days to complete my onboarding process, apply for an SSN, even though you can work without the SSN, okay, 30 days from your employment start date as human resources permits. But, it could take time to get the Social Security card. Now, like I said earlier, me I always allow at least an extra 2 weeks past 2 to 3 weeks past the 30-day deadline. Now, knock on wood, we haven't gotten audited on this, so I think I'm safe to say I can continue to do it until they come down on me. But as long as you get your Social Security card within the 30 to 45 days and you provide us with the information, and your employment start date is within the 30 days for your PERS, you're fine. The main thing I want to really stress out is the PERS, because we've had a lot of students that were charged PERS and they were not happy. And we understand it's not fair. It's not your fault. Departments were putting incorrect dates. So this is why it's important that when you get hired from a department, you ask them, what is my employment start date? And I'm sure they tell you. What that date is, so that you can, so you can see where you stand, right? So does that make sense?